Hello, my name is Dustin Kane, and today I will present the elements of the Adaptive Management Plan for ground squirrels in southwest Idaho. For this discussion, the following topics will be highlighted and discussed. The vision statement, that is, the overall direction and goal of the plan, the stakeholders and current policy concerns for the implementation of the management plan, listed objectives, and keys to successfully achieving those goals. To properly identify the direction of an action, there must be a clearly identified problem. This plan recognizes that the Paiute ground squirrels are a keystone species to the sagebrush ecosystem of Elmore County, Idaho, that damage land and present potential public health concern. To combat this, the following vision statement has been drafted. Maintain healthy colonial structure of ground squirrels on public lands while reducing species impact in residential areas. This highlights the importance of the species plays while addressing the concerns of the public. With the public in mind, they are the first of identified stakeholders with the greatest concerns being private land destruction, public land health, and overall public health. Due to the heavy presence of military training activity within the project area, the military community is identified as a second stakeholder, with primary concerns being safety of training personnel, adhering to guidelines to protect training sites such as the Orchard Creek Training Center on public land, and the implementation of Vital Water Plan. Furthermore, because the project area contains several 100,000 acres of national conservation area, the BLM land managers must be included in this discussion of managing this keystone species. Their concerns can be highlighted as protection of the species for the health of the nesting raptor and sagebrush ecosystem as a whole, mitigating public health concerns during plague outbreaks, and cooperation with the military to ensure ample training areas are available. Some of the major projects within the specified target area are the Mountain Home Water Project, in which water will be diverted and pumped from the nearby Snake River to supplement aquifer use. Currently, the growth of Mountain Home and the continual rate of use of water would lead to a drought and potentially the closure of the installation within the next 2 decades, as estimated by the Environmental Department of Mountain Home Air Force Base. During implementation of this plan, the habitat of the ground squirrel should be considered. Furthermore, extensive growth of Boise, Idaho has influenced growth within the town of Mountain Home as well. As rural land is developed, habitat and public health concerns must be addressed. There is also concern as the military looks to expand training sites and lower the flight floor. This has been addressed that it will undoubtedly have an effect on the wildlife within the region. Fire management and current actions for sage-grouse conservation must also be discussed, as their relationship of ecosystem health is tied directly to the ground squirrel. Keeping all of these items in mind, the following objectives have been identified. Reduce ground squirrel population in areas to a minimum threshold as identified by environmental experts. Minimize impact on the Morley-Nelson Snake River Birds of Prey National Conservation Area, ensuring stable food source for the raptors and other species that rely on their presence. And mitigate habitat destruction within the identified project areas. To meet the first objective, there must be actions to monitor the species presence and density on Air Force installation base, on the Air Force and new base housing developments. Meeting and establishing agreements on removal versus eradication and how it will affect the area and which is most practical, which can be done through reviewing studies on species previously published. And finally, achieving suitable reduction within 2 years and revising any action needed thereafter. To meet Objective 2 in regards to the National Conservation Area, the plan looks to ensure population is not affected in a manner that would disrupt ecosystem health. Additionally, the creation and implementation of educational resources and guidelines for the military on human and species interaction will help ensure this objective is met. And during the management plan, sufficient data should be recorded, preserved, and presented to the BLM stakeholders to assist their implementation of fire and species management. Finally, to mitigate habitat destruction, the plan should identify colonies with the highest density and identify and establish these areas as priority zones to be monitored and protected during construction of new homes and the water plan infrastructure. This concludes the presentation of the elements of Adaptive Management Plan for the ground squirrel in southwest Idaho with consideration to vision, stakeholders, and objectives. The following resources have been identified to support the plan. Thank you for your time.